Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to Lost in the Wasteland, where I have Aaron here from SiftPop, who hosts our Writers Room podcast, which I got the opportunity to be on. Crap, was that back in
It was the summer. I
July?
think it was July, probably.
Yep. And then be making a comeback in January.
That's right.
And Aaron also does some articles for SiftPop and does like our best ever challenges, but you should also check out his Black Bear review right now because that's up there. And that's a movie you all should watch because it's strange enough to catch your attention and make you feel some things. So, but for those who've
We'll do
watched this
that.
before, you kind of know the gist of it. I asked some questions to get to know Aaron here a little bit better and into his perspective on movies, which that's the fun of this show because y'all tune in and listen to me yap all the time. So it's interesting hearing other people. So I'm going to start off very basic kind of question, but Aaron, what is your favorite film?
This is a question that I've learned to love because, like for the longest time, it was Shawshank because it's the best movie ever made. Period. Right. But I've really learned to adapt what my favorite movie is and why it's my favorite movie, like what makes that movie beyond excellent. And I've never heard anybody give this answer before. My favorite movie of all time is The Nice Guys from 2016.
I I love that movie so much.
It's better every time you rewatch it. The jokes still play as fun as they did initially. And by the way, I wasn't expecting this movie to be as funny at all when I first got to it. It's a perfect length. It's not quite too long. It's not quite too short. Gosling and Crowe have amazing chemistry. Shane Black is just an incredible director. There's a million and a half reasons to love this movie, and one of it is just when I think about my favorite movie, I think about, let's just say, we're in the same state and there's no COVID and all that, and you just decide to come over for a movie night. Let's just say you look at my vast collection of movies and pick one. What is that one that I'm going to be most likely to be like, yes, like, let's do that? Because, I'm not always in the mood to watch Shawshank, or I'm not always in the mood to watch Inception, but 9 times out of 10, almost every single time, if you pull out The Nice Guys, I'm like, do it, let's go.
Honestly, Russell Crowe's one of my low-key favorite actors because he gives it all his all.
Sure.
I know Les Mis was probably not
I
the
like
best choice to do,
I like
but
Les Mis.
like singing's not his thing. But he just has a presence, he has a physicality about him, he has a charm about him. And then honestly, this might be my favorite Ryan Gosling. And he's just like everything about him, like the no, no,
Yeah.
when he's just gonna just like snap his arm, or even from when his daughter's like, Dad, there's hookers here and stuff. And she's like, honey, don't say and stuff. Just say there's hookers. And just,
It's I this is definitely my favorite Gosling too. It's not his best performance. I mean, that's either Blade Runner or First Man, but this is my favorite type of Gosling, and this is the only type of Gosling that we get like this. And like my two favorite like go-to lines, other than some of the ones that you already mentioned, are the ones where they're at the bowling alley, and he just like everybody, like all these little girls are yapping, and he just like says an obscenity and says, you just use the lower names in vain. No, I didn't, Janet. I found it very useful, in fact, Janet. or or the one where gosh, I gotta think of where they're where they're at the Sid Shattuck's party, and Russell Crowe finds him drunk. Is like, I was questioning the mermaids. What were you doing while I was working?
Oh, and like Shane Black has a long track record of writing some like great action comedies, and like going all the way back to like I love Lethal Weapon,
Hmm.
absolutely love Lethal Weapon,
Yeah,
and you can just tell when you're watching a Shane Black script come to life. And Nice Guys is definitely one of them. Like I will watch a series of movies with the two of them in it doing madcap crazy cases. I want them all.
yeah.
So I definitely agree.
Well, and I almost picked Shane Black for my favorite filmmaker, which we'll talk about later. But it has to come down to a track record, and like Lethal Weapon's great, and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is amazing, and The Nice Guys is my favorite movie of all time, and like I like Iron Man 3, but then he made The Predator, and like he doesn't have a good track record because
That
that's just a
was
terrible movie.
that was, and I was excited because Shane Black was coming back,
Right.
and because like he's in the original Predator
Yeah,
film.
yeah.
He's like the nerdy tech guy of the group, which is hilarious compared to like everybody else whose arms are the size of his head. But like that movie is
Well, like I know it's studio interference. That's the problem. That's the problem with that movie. But like, it's like Shane Black still can't even work around that. Like,
it's a bad
anyway,
movie. It's a weird movie. But now, Aaron, what's your earliest memory of going to a theater?
it has to be Toy Story 2. And I'm sure it's not the first movie I've seen in theaters, but a family of four kids and so six of us total. It gets expensive to go to the theaters. So I remember it was sometimes a rarity because mom would buy the movies, right? But Toy Story was like I broke the VHS for that one, so like my parents weren't not going to take me to go see Toy Story 2. And I figured that came out before The Incredibles, which I definitely remember seeing. And also one of my earliest memories is I went and saw Bicentennial Man in theaters. I know why this one sticks out to me. I Nobody's thought about Bicentennial Man in 18 years, but the reason it stuck out to me was because I have a January birthday, and we would go to the movies in January, and so you go see whatever's in, and it's usually crap. Like it's not good. 2021 is going to be the exception, but there's nothing good in there.
It's like
Uh,
Red Letter Media. They're
yeah,
just like, F you, it's January.
right. So Bicentennial Man was in, and I just remember we were the only people in the whole theater, this family of six of us, and I don't remember anything about the movie because I think I was having fun with getting up and moving seats and
It's like, it's Robin Williams.
right,
It had an interesting idea.
right.
I just recall, like, I watched it before. I'm just like, this is boring. Like, this is a boring movie.
I'm sure it is. I'm positive it is.
And like, this is adult Shane watching this. And I'm just like, this is a boring movie. And it's interesting you brought up the birthday thing because, like, Harry Potter used to come out in November for my birthday every year. I'm like, always wanted to go see Harry Potter for my birthday. And then they moved it to the summer because they knew they could make more money. And
Well, and it'd be the same thing if you were like, you had a Star Wars every time on your birthday, and then all of a sudden they moved it to December, and then Solo got pushed up to like, pick a day, pick a lane and stay in it.
pick your lanes. But now, what's your favorite genre of film?
There's nothing like a good thriller. Like I really love watching comedies, but because like The Nice Guys is a good example of that. But not every comedy lands. Comedy is always subjective,
Mhm.
and I think I've seen more bad comedies than I have seen good comedies. So, or at least ones that haven't made me laugh. Like I don't like Identity Thief or Due Date or God, I don't can't even think of other ones. Blockers. I hated Blockers. But like I love Me is Super Bad or
Mhm.
Bench Warmers for some reason. So like comedy like action, I don't, kind of same thing. Like it's hard to be original and do action at this point. So there's nothing like a good thriller, nothing like something that can just make you like white knuckle your seat for the whole time. And I think like Zodiac is like a prime example. So like especially like if there's a little truth based on it. Like I don't always want true crime stuff because then it kind of freaks me out. But um,
Never
yeah,
hurts
like
to throw some Fincher in there.
right, and
So,
and like Seven's a thriller, and I would Spotlight I would consider a thriller. Just anything, yeah, anything that might make me just like tense up and just get so enveloped in a story. Uh, Especially like if I'm at a theater experience, like I want to get sucked in to where I don't realize that I'm sitting in a theater with 30 other people, and one of them is crunching popcorn way too loudly. Like Whiplash is a great example of maybe like atypical thriller, and that's like my fourth favorite movie of all time. So
like, the amount of stress that Fletcher causes you as the audience
yep.
watching him be an atrocious human being just like is not quite my tempo. Just like, I don't think I could hear that ever again without being like, Ugh.
Yeah,
No, please don't. Please don't do this to me.
right.
But like, I understand that. And it's just like, also shout out if you haven't seen Zodiac, definitely one of Fincher's more underappreciated movies. So go check it out. So like to throw shout outs, shameless shout outs on here. So
Nice.
how about filmmaker? I know.
So we talked about Phil Baker briefly, and yeah, I mean it's hard to find somebody with an excellent track record, and there's enough directors that you can find somebody with an excellent track record. But I also feel like there kind of has to be a little bit of a quota. Like, I was talking with somebody on Twitter about this the other day, and he picked like Ari Aster as one of his top four, and it's like he's done two movies. Like, is that enough for me to judge? Because, like Shane
Shyamalan.
Shane Black did, yeah, Shyamalan, or like Shane Black did, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys, then The Predator, and like, yeah, Shyamalan did Unbreakable and Signs and The Sixth Sense, then The Happening, right? Like, yeah,
Literally fell asleep 7 times separately in 90 minutes. I wish my girlfriend didn't keep waking me up. Just let me sleep. My body has decided this isn't worth my time.
right. So I tried to think of the director that I think has the best track record, and like, man, I went through a lot. I was like, Damien Chazelle, I just don't think he has quite enough because I haven't seen Guy Madeline, and so Whiplash and La La Land are some of my favorites. I love First Man. Is it enough of do we have enough of an idea of is this guy good or really lucky twice,
Mhm.
three times? I think I've settled. Same, like, easy answer is Nolan, right? Because I'm most excited about a Nolan movie than I am on anything soon. But he doesn't have the best track record, and like, he does have his problems. He's bad at sound mixing, right? We don't need to say more of that. Everybody knows.
Well, if you
But
ask him, he's just ambitious with his sound mixing, and we're just not ready for it.
man, the more I hear about things that he's been saying this year, the more I just don't really like the guy. Like, especially
Yeah.
his recent comments on like HBO stuff. It's like, what?
One of your movies isn't even one of them's coming out on HBO Max.
Right. Right. Like, so
But
but like, but I hate The Dark Knight Rises. And so like I can't, and like Insomnia is okay. And like, can you put your favorite filmmaker as somebody that has a movie that you hate? So I'm gonna land here. I'm gonna go Ryan Johnson. And it might be a controversial take. I love The Last Jedi. Knives Out is an excellent. I would call Knives Out a perfect movie. Um, I think Looper is excellent. I think Looper is my favorite of his movies. But I will not be surprised if Knives Out takes that at some point. And I'm pretty sure that Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie, for many reasons that we don't have time to talk about. But Brick is amazing. Johnson's only weak spot, well, and even the TV stuff he's done is really good too. He has the best episodes of Breaking Bad, and I'm not even a big fan of Breaking Bad, but his episodes are always good. But he only has one week leak, and it's The Brothers Bloom, and like, it's just a forgettable movie. There's just nothing special about it. It's not a bad movie. It's just okay. And so like, if that's the worst that this guy's ever gonna get, and that's his first studio movie, maybe there's studio interference because like, well, you did Brick and nobody told you what to do there. So we're gonna give, like, I don't know. Like, if Brothers Bloom is as bad as his filmography gets, it's still an impressive filmography.
well, and it's interesting because so two thoughts, real quick, backing up, following up on the studio thing. You can tell Looper is one singular just voice
Yes.
throughout and is perfect in how it's all played out. And you could definitely tell that he did what he wanted to do on The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will be making sure to tell you that. And like Knives Out is that was one of my favorite movies last year. And that is, I think, going to be one of those films that's just endlessly watchable for me.
Sure.
And I appreciate you brought up, it's an interesting thing to think about your favorite filmmaker. Cause like I'll share like mine are my favorite filmmakers, the Coen brothers.
Sure.
And I can tell how much I love the Coen brothers when I know, okay, this was not their best effort, but I'm gonna have fun watching this anyway. So like Lady Killers is a hot mess. But you know what? It's weird enough and quirky enough for me to sit there and be like, I know this is a Coen brothers movie, and this is weird and funny. but sure is a weird movie. And like even Intolerable Cruelty, you can tell when the Coen brothers are like, you know what, we're just here to have some fun with this one. Intolerable Cruelty is a strange rom-com, and that's the best way to put it. But you can tell when they're firing on all cylinders, and you get something like No Country for Old Men, and that'll stick with you for a long time afterwards.
Right.
And it's interesting to think about that kind of thing. And I know I follow Magic of Film on Instagram, and he does community countdowns, and they did the top 100 directors of all time. And these are all people voting on Instagram. And the amount of love Robert Eggers got, Ari Aster got,
Hmm.
Greta Gerwig got, Taika Waititi got pretty high up there, and like I love, and like he's at least up to like 6 or 7 films at this point.
That'd be a good underdog pick, because his worst effort is Boy, and Boy's a fine movie. Boy's a good movie.
Oh, I just watch it just for the whole thriller thing at the end. Like,
Right, but Hunt for the Wilder People is great. What We Do in the Shadows is excellent, and Thor Ragnarok is, and Jojo, like, yeah, Taika Waititi is an underdog pick.
and the thing is, it's like there's a lot of great directors out there that I'm like, I'm ready for their next film. And I really hope Ari Aster and Robert Eggers keep it up, because boy, do they define A24 horror movies right now, because there's some weird, just disturbing cinema in the most effective way. Now, Aaron, do you have a favorite actor or actress?
Man, I'm actually kind of like looking it up right now. I think I have one of each.
Okay.
Um, I think I do, and this is a really hard one because going based off of the same line of logic for favorite filmmaker is like
Mhm.
who has the best track record, not necessarily who am I most excited to see. Because at one point I would have said Russell Crowe, hands down, but that was before I saw State of Play and a bunch of like the like late '90s and early 2000s stuff that just got like thrown under the rug. Like at that point I had just seen like Gladiator and um,
Because like basically he had
right,
the Insider, Gladiator, and Beautiful Mind all in a row and was
right.
like riding high.
Well, and one right after that too. Shoot, which one was it? Oh, it's gonna bug me because he had like a streak of just like 5 incredible films.
Mhm.
I'll look it up right now, real quick, because it'll take 2 seconds to figure out. It was right around the Beautiful Mind era. Well, LA Confidential right before then,
Oh,
and
I love LA Confidential.
well, and I already talked about my love for the nice guys. And American Gangster, 310 to Yuma, Cinderella Man. I'd throw in there, Master Commander. Those were also like right after A Beautiful Mind.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so at one point I would have said that. At one point I'd have said Denzel because Denzel's amazing. He's always consistently good. But gosh, I think I'm gonna go with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone as my favorite actor and actress separately. And here's why. Have you ever seen a bad Emma Stone movie?
It's a good
I
question.
haven't I haven't seen all of her movies,
Because
but
like, you got Easy A, you got Crazy Stupid Love, which honestly, I love Crazy Stupid Love. That movie makes
yes.
me laugh so much.
Yep. Well, here's the easy answer is The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
But that's a movie I really like because I can see everywhere that the studio interfered with it, and I love what the movie was intending for. And I can say Mark Webb went for something here, and the studio tried to catch up with what Disney Marvel was doing.
the Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone aspects of those two films are great.
Yep.
They're great together. And Emma Stone was great in it. It's just it was a bit of a hot mess. But
Right. Well, and it tried to do in one movie, in one 2.5 hour movie, what Marvel had been doing from 7 movies, from
Mhm.
Iron Man to the Avengers. So, and frankly, they even tried to catch up with them and just go straight to Age of Ultron because they were setting up Sinister Six, and they had so many villains, and you already went through the Harry arc, and now he's in college, and you have the death of like there's so anyway. That's the easy answer, but I still like that movie, and like I haven't seen every one of her movies, and maybe you're not a big fan of Zombieland Double Tap, but I like it for what it is, and um. But and she had a stellar start to her career because Zombieland, Superbad, Easy A, boom, solidified. This girl's going places. She's an Oscar-winning actress deservedly so. I think, I think it would have been interesting if after seeing her in Super Bad, if you'd have been like, you believe she's going to win an Oscar in like 7 years? I said, seems a little soon, but maybe. And she did it. And I don't know that I've ever seen, and at the very least, if I have seen a bad Emma Stone movie, she's great in it. And there are particular movies that I think I love only because her. Like, I think The Favorite is a good movie, but I love The Favorite because of her. Um,
Like, I'm a huge Yorgos Lanthimos fan. Another boy, does he has a vision, like a
right.
very particular vision of his films. And to be honest, each of like his big three films of The Lobster, Killing of the Sacred Deer, and The Favorite, I have issues with parts of each of them, but like the act, like nobody's gonna say the acting wasn't great in The Favorite, and like Emma Stone was great, Rachel Weisz,
Hmm.
and Olivia Colman, like, and I was impressed at Emma Stone because like not gonna lie, when I first saw the trailer, I thought Emma Stone was the odd one out.
Hmm.
Like she didn't feel like she fit in, but like after watching the film, she was great and I shouldn't have been surprised because she's a really talented actress.
Well, she's also like she's got such a range because she can nail comedy with Superbad, Easy A, Zombieland. We see she's great at it, but she also can nail drama. She has some dramatic moments in each of those movies,
Mhm.
specifically Zombieland of all three of those actually. But you could kind of see she has some dramatic moments, and with something like The Help, which admittedly I hadn't seen, but I've seen clips of, and something like The Favorite or uh, gosh, La La Land. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Mhm.
She's got that role, and she can do the musical aspect of La La Land, and and then in the middle of all doing this, you think maybe she graduated from comedy, but then she just pulls out Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping, and she's like one of the highlights in that movie. So, so that's why I say Emma Stone. For Ryan Gosling, it's likely it's some of the same reasons. Well, I have seen plenty of bad Ryan Gosling movies because I've seen The Notebook, and Drive is not as good as most people think it is. Um, Drive is a very okay movie, but like he gives one of three performances in every movie. He gives stoic, mysterious. So your
Mhm.
Drive, Blade Runner, First Man, Place Beyond the Pines kind. He has another one that's again can only be put in the Nice Guys. Maybe Remember the Titans is the closest thing to that you're going to get. That kind of like silly, goofy, fun-loving kind of guy. And you
Weird.
have
Which apparently he is in real life. Is just weird.
right. Well, and yeah, and maybe even you can lump Crazy Stupid Love in there. Maybe. I don't think so.
Because like Crazy Stupid Love has that same vibe as like The Big Short, where he's just like this over like uber confident. Just
Yeah.
like the whole thing is like,
Right. Like yeah,
who's
like when he takes the sneakers and throws them off the balcony.
like, are you in a fraternity? Why are you wearing New Balance? And he just chucks them. And as somebody who wore New Balance their whole life, because like I have size 15 quadruple E shoe, I'm like, not many places make really comfy shoes for giant ass feet. And I'm just like, no. But like, and I get it because like there's some actors that like have those like niche performances, and like a Jeff Bridges, it's like there's a handful of Jeff Bridges you're gonna get,
Yep.
and Ryan Gosling's one of those kind of actors, and it's just like he does them very well.
Well, and it's like even in movies that I don't like, I like him in those movies. Maybe The Notebook's the exception, but I don't know. He's not really given too much to, and maybe it's just I hate the characters in The Notebook, which is most of the reason why I hate The Notebook. Because if you're going to make a movie about characters you're supposed to love, I should probably love the characters. Just opinions for any of you people that are trying to maybe make a rom com, but like he either even if I don't, I told you Drive's an okay movie. Gosling's great in it though. I'm kind of surprised he doesn't have an Oscar yet. He will have several by the time that he is done with his career. I think that Blade Runner 2049, First Man were each worthy of getting an Oscar. I love The Nice Guys. It's my favorite performance of his, but it's not going to be an Oscar performance.
The comedy unless it's maybe a supporting performance, you're not going to get a whole lot of comedic performances nominated for Oscars.
Right.
And I know, because boy, was I pulling hard for Ray Fiennes for Grand Budapest Hotel, because
Wow. Yeah.
ridiculously charming at
That would
every
have been good.
moment. But like,
Well, and it's one of those weird things where actors say all the times that comedy is harder to do than drama. So like, then reward it.
exactly. Because
And
like,
like, I don't know how they managed to get those takes in The Nice Guys and not like just die laughing. Like, especially I think of the scene where they're at the protest and they're like, "What are you protesting?" And the guy in the new, I don't know, what are you guys protesting? The air. You're protesting the air. Well, what about this guy? He had a gas mask that didn't save him. How are they not just like losing it all the time?
if I was one of those extras on the floor, I definitely would have been. I wouldn't have been able to handle that.
Same.
Now, now, Aaron, what's a film that you feel like you could watch every day?
Gosh, I can't do it.
So let me rephrase the question then, because
Okay.
I've been getting a lot of responses like that. What do you feel like is a film that you wind up coming back to a decent?
Okay. Yeah, I'm that kind of person. My wife is that kind of person. You could give her 6 movies for the rest of her life, and she's good with them. You know, Big Hero 6, Indiana Jones, Last Crusade, some of her rom-com ones. She hates The Notebook too. So you know, you can give her 6 movies for the rest of her life, and she's like, I'm here, I'm good. You know, um, but I'm that kind of person that I will much rather find a new movie
Mhm.
than rewatch something. Although lately I've been in a rewatch mood just because like it's been forever since I've been able to rewatch stuff. So movie I find myself coming back to a lot. I mean, The Nice Guys, but you know, for sake of not saying that, I'll say Knives Out, because Knives Out is a movie that rewards rewatches.
Mhm.
Every single time you watch it, you pick up on something new. Every single time you watch it, you appreciate things more, or you'd be like, I forgot about that. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with Knives Out, down to the littlest detail. Like one of the details I even noticed upon my last rewatch is that a lot of the plot hinders on climbing up a balcony in the mud and then going over a windowsill. And when you see your main character do it, Ana de Armas, it's very intentional. Her shoe does not touch the windowsill, and there's a mud stain on it. But when you see the other character coming through in that reveal at the end, his shoe drags on the windowsill, and it's like it's such a small detail that is so perfect and so it really ties everything close together. It's also hilarious. So even if you're just watching it for the comedy, it's a layered enough mystery that I could go for it.
Like
I've probably seen Knives Out as many times as I've seen The Nice Guys. It's probably been 5 or 6 for each of them.
it's like Daniel Craig shouldn't work in that
Yes,
movie, but somehow he does. And
yes,
like
I totally agree.
donut holes. That's all
Yes.
I'm gonna say. But like,
Well, it was the same thing in Logan Lucky. I was like, I don't know why I love this, but
right?
I just do.
And that movie's full of just weird. Because here's a perfect example. Seth MacFarlane took me out of that movie. Like him and his obnoxious over the top British accent.
He was in
Oh, it
Logan
was weird.
Lucky.
Huh?
He was in Logan Lucky.
Yeah. So like he takes me out of the movie, but like Joe Bang doesn't. It's just equally as weird, but somehow Daniel Craig's a ridiculously talented actor.
Yeah.
And like I know he does not want to be stuck doing James Bond movies the rest of his life, but it seems like he's going to have a nice career of playing Benoit Blanc.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm down for that.
I'm here for it all.
Oh man.
My favorite moment in Logan Lucky is when he starts the riot, where he goes picks a fight with like the biggest black guy there, and he makes a joke about milk that just you should just watch that clip.
Oh man. But now, what film do you feel like you really connect to because it connects to another interest of yours?
Okay, I think I'm gonna have the same answer for this and the next question,
Okay.
but it's Whiplash, because I'm a drummer,
Okay.
and there's not many movies about drummers, and there's plenty of movies that drummers are peers, but as a drummer, the most annoying thing that films do is when you have musicians playing in the background and it doesn't align with the soundtrack. Like Back to the Future is horrible at this. Other ones are just they're terrible at it because you'll see, in a typical song, let's just say you have a 4/4 time signature. The beat on the snare drum can be on. You can be on whatever you want, but typically, if you're going for a straight beat, which a lot of these movies are, the beat for the snare would be on a 2 and a 4. So you would watch. So a drumstick would land on that, but the drumstick lands on like 4.5 and like 2, and you're like, but. Or it's just like it's very clearly like 1 and 3. Like it never matches. It never syncs. So to see them finally get something done right with that, it made it such a good experience for that. As well as I have a little bit of a personal connection because the same drum set that he plays in the practice room, that like kind of tannish one, that's the drum set that I own. Although I play metal music, not jazz, so I have different heads. I have it tuned to a deeper volume. But that's the drum set that I have. So I have a little bit of a personal connection. I never had an abusive teacher. I never really had a drum teacher. I'm entirely self-taught. But I just think that's one that I relate to because, there. I don't really like sports all that much, and my favorite sport is hockey, but I never played hockey. So it's not really too much of a thing. But like, is there any other great movies about drummers? Like really excellent, great movies, especially where a drummer's the main character?
Really would have to think on that, but like, yeah,
Sure. Hesitation alone answers that.
yeah, because it's like, sure, can think of a lot, because like, you can think of so many other movies. It's always like the lead singer.
It's a lead singer or it's a guitarist.
I know they don't spend a whole lot of time on it because of the nature of the story, but Sound of Metal, that's going to be coming out.
Oh, it's already out.
Oh, see, that's the thing. I got a screener. I'm like, it's out in theaters probably somewhere.
No, it's out on Prime.
When did it come out on Prime? Was it last week?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm probably going to watch it tomorrow.
Okay.
I thought about watching it today, but I decided to watch a documentary that I wound up hating instead.
Boo. But like, so like, it's a brand new movie.
Yeah.
And honestly, you don't really like, you don't see a whole lot of drumming in it.
Well, that's the other thing is I know from what I can see, like I know from being told about it, but also I know based off what I can see, that is Miles Teller playing the drums. And it's insane. And it's the same thing with like where you watch Gosling in La La Land and you're like, that's Gosling playing the piano. And you're like, he learned that. And so like you can tell these differences. Same thing. I mean, whatever your niche is, you can tell when it's a stunt double, and you can tell when it's somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. You can tell when it's somebody took the time and the director made sure it looked right.
Like anything Daniel Day-Lewis ever did.
Yes.
Like he's butchering that meat in Gangs of New York because he literally became a butcher.
Right. And there's that like, that whole Phantom Thread thing where PTA was just like, look, this isn't going to help your character at all. He's like, I don't care. I'm still doing it. I think it's going to help me. Like, he became like a master seamstress. Like,
well, and that's Daniel Day-Lewis.
Sure.
He's committed to everything, literally everything he's going to do on screen. And that's interesting. And this is a little question beyond the Wasteland, but like, who are some of your favorite drummers?
I mean, Neil Peart is up there. Has to be, of Rush. If you're ever having a conversation about who's the best drummer out there, he's in it. My personal favorite, I think, is Matt Greiner of August Burns Red. He's so quick, so creative. It's hard playing along with him because he can be like that. And to some degree, like we owe a lot to like the older, like the 60s rock drummers, things like that, Led Zeppelin, Van Halen's, like those drummers, but like, are they the best? No, they were great. But
like John Bonham and like
I mean, John Bonham's the exception, right? But yeah, like Matt Greiner, I would say Luke Holland, especially like his YouTube stuff, like before he actually got in a band, he like just remixes some songs, and so he has one specifically. His cover for Cinema by Skrillex is mind-blowingly good. I also really like Matt McGuire of the Chainsmokers, which is weird because he doesn't have to do anything for the Chainsmokers, but if you watch like just him recording in a studio, he's like remixing to some really intricate stuff, hand and feet coordination that's just insane. Those would be a couple.
And it's interesting because like I love music. Like I tried to teach myself guitar at one point in college. Didn't really go anywhere, but like my favorite band of all time is Rush. So I
Yeah.
appreciated that answer. So, and it's interesting because like I love talking about music, and like my favorite instrument would be like piano and organ and stuff like that. And honestly, probably why I love so many of Hans Zimmer's scores, because like when listening to like I was rewatching Dead Man's Chest a couple
Uh-huh.
months ago, and just the organ playing with like Davy Jones and everything, I'm just like, yes. Or watching Interstellar, and
Yeah.
like can't hear anything else going on but these organs right now, but I'm digging it. But and it's interesting. Now, I know you alluded to like the next question was like a movie character you felt like you connect with on a personal
Sure.
level. So it would be Miles Teller from Whiplash.
Yeah, yeah. So the joke answer is I've been told that by people that I know that I look like a meerkat, which now that you've seen it, you won't unsee it. I've also been told that I look like Sid from Ice Age. So the joke answer is Sid from Ice Age. But no, the real answer the real answer is Miles Teller from Whiplash. Blanking on the character's name, Andrew, something like that. Um, and it's because I watched that movie and I showed it to several people because I thought it was just excellent. And I have been told by several people that I kind of am a little bit embodied by that person. I do think I've gotten better at some of the stuff that he does, but there's a certain posture that he takes when playing the drums. He's a slight bit slouched. He normally kind of just buries his head in his music and isn't really following other people that are going on. And that's when I play drums, like you only see the top of my head because I'm just like I'm buried in it. And same thing, like especially at the start of the movie when he has no confidence before like he really gets worked up by Flesher. You can see him like he's having such a hard time making eye contact with Melissa Benoist. And I was told I've worked on it and I think I've gotten good at it since. That's hard to do virtually because I'm looking at my screen so I can see you, but my webcam's up here. So don't take this as like the trial run for that. But I've been told to get better. I've gotten good at eye contact, at least gotten decent at it. So now I'm kind of reminiscing. I think I've also heard that like I've heard both Mike Birbiglia and John Mulaney are very much like, I mean, like they're stand up. So not like a movie character, but I'm a little bit more fast paced than Mike Birbiglia, but I will sometimes make a similar joke in the way that he'll say something. So I guess there's a couple answers for you.
I've been told I look like Jermaine Clement, and I'm just like, okay, I'll take it.
They're not wrong.
I'll sing you some Shiny. That's one of my low key. That was my ringtone for a while after Moana, because I'm just like, I remember sitting in that movie being like, is that Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords? And I'm just like, it is. And he's doing his best David Bowie impression.
Yeah.
And then I watched Flight of the Conchords, and like he literally did a David Bowie impression. I'm just like, that was totally on purpose.
Right.
But now got a couple more. So what's a film that you love that you feel like people would be surprised that you love?
So I don't really know how many movies like I love that would really surprise people. I had a hard time thinking about this question, but there is a movie that I do think people are surprised that I rank it as high as I do. I think this is like 47 of all time for me on Letterboxd. And like, I don't think most people consider this like one of their favorite movie of all times. I do think this is one of my favorite movies of all times, trying to build up anticipation. Heavyweights, the 90s Disney movie. Like, this should be nobody's favorite movie, like, right? But it's one of mine. Like, nobody, when you're thinking about making a favorite movie of all time list, if you've done it yourself, then you know. If you haven't done it, you're trying to think, you got to limit it. What's 100 movies that you love and adore? Okay, well, throw it on there. And then the way that I built my letterbox, which is when I officially made my top 100, and I've since abandoned top 100. I'm just like, no, these are my favorites, because like I ain't kicking out Jurassic Park, um, or Ghostbusters or something like that. They're still one of my favorite movies. It's just, not in the 100 anymore. It's like 114 now or something like that. But when you find so I would just take something. All right, well, Toy Story 3 is better than Toy Story 1, so let's let's do that. And then Inside Out is better than both of those, and then boom, and just keep on adding things. And where am I going to drag this along? I didn't have Heavyweights on, and I watched it again a couple months ago. I was like, why don't I have it? Like, I love this. I rewatch this movie a lot, probably once or twice a year. And yeah, I just decided to pull it up to where I think it belongs. It's like 47 or something like that all time for me. So it's like up there with like Seven Samurai and Argo.
I was a fat kid growing up, so that movie always was very relatable for me. And then watching Ben Stiller in it, and just like
I love trying to describe that movie to people, because like, all right, well, there's a fat camp that a bunch of little kids go to, and then Ben Stiller takes it over and turns it into an exercise camp, and like that's the plot of the movie.
It's basically, what if White Goodman from Dodgeball
Yes,
took over a fat kids camp?
I'm 30% convinced that Heavyweights is a prequel to Dodgeball.
It very well could be, honestly, because Tony and White are very, very similar characters.
Yeah. And there's like, it's also really fun for me because like these kids are well-known actors. Like one of them is Kenan Thompson, and like he's on SNL now, and like one of the two of the kids, three of the kids are actually in the Mighty Ducks movies. So like it's cool to see. Yeah, Goldberg's in there, and the kid that plays the main kid in Heavyweights is in only the first Mighty Ducks movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you have a couple of the Mighty Ducks people in there. It's gosh, I think I just think it would surprise people. Yeah,
that's going to be the next Disney Plus like revival series that's going to be coming, is going to be Heavyweights.
Look, I'm here for it. Like I'm here for making it a mini series. I'm here for making a new movie about it. Just like, because I'm also that type of person that like, your remake ain't gonna taint my original. Like, and I still might want to watch the original over it, but like, look, I'm all for more exposure to Heavyweights.
It's a fun movie. So my last question for you is, what do you love most about movies?
Gosh, it's all about stories. I'm connected to stories in such a way. I think we all are. I think stories are the things that connect us. Stories are the things that that make us human. Stories are the essence of our identity, I think, in a lot of ways. And it says something about intelligent life, that is the only living being, thinking creatures that there are, like intelligent life, that we choose to spend most of our time listening to other people's stories or telling stories. And it's all about a story being told. It's all about, and like, maybe that's a bit broad, because a story being told also is, what is the message that this movie is trying to say? Kind of that. I'll quote the nice guys again. But after he's done telling the Richard Nixon in the pool story, he's like, so what are you saying? That there's two different ways to look at something? Yeah. Well, next time just say that then. So like, sometimes it's, Black Bear is a movie that tells a story, but I think it's trying to tell something different, something a little deeper. Blade Runner 2049 is a story, but it's trying to talk more about identity and what makes us human. And so I think, like, so stories, messages, but also you have characters that you fall in love with, and you have stories that bring joy, like The Nice Guys, or stories that bring sadness, like Manchester by the Sea, or stories that make you feel a certain way. There's something so innately powerful about storytelling in general. It's like I said, it might be a little bit broad, because you can pick apart 7 or 8 different things from that, but that it, that's it.
And that's perfect. Love stories. I love stories. I love getting lost into stories. That's why I watch so many movies. I read books.
Well, and that's why, like, when I go to a movie theater, I want to be sucked into the screen and not remember that I'm in a movie theater. And that's like, man, like, I really wanted to love 1917, and I really like 1917. But my biggest problem with the movie is I was in the theaters watching it for the first time, fresh eyes. It is such a great made movie that halfway through the movie, I looked at my wife and I'm like, I don't even want to watch the second half of this movie. I just want to go watch the behind the scenes. I want to see how they made this. And like, it was still in theaters. Like, I am more interested in watching the behind the scenes than I am the second half of this movie. That's a problem. And
Like Roger Deakins, how did you make that work?
right, because like, I'm not interested in your story anymore. I don't care whether or not he gets to tell the brother about the attack. I don't care anymore. Like, I just want to know how you told this story. So anyway.
That's interesting. So now it's your turn. So you get to ask me one question that I get to answer.
Okay. I thought about this while I was watching your Black Bear video.
Okay.
You have a wall of movies behind you.
Yes. Quite a large wall of movies.
And I follow you on Letterboxd, and gosh, there's a new thing from you every day. And it's always like, I could count on any movie I can search in Letterboxd Shane has seen. And I thought about asking you, like, how do you have time for all that? But like, it's just dedication to the craft. The question I actually want to ask is, how do you choose in what format you want to visit something? So like, are you okay with, would you rather buy, or were you, so like, kind of subsequent questions here. Would you rather buy versus rent? Would you rather go digital or physical? And, you know, even to the point of like, how do you determine which movies you buy? Because as a physical media collector myself, you run out of space at some point.
Yeah.
And like, I recently had to expand my storage because I ran out of space. But like, I was looking through my shelves, I'm like, I don't want to get rid of any of these movies. So like, what is that final moment where you're like, I want to dedicate to not only buying this movie or like keeping it? If you just buy them and then like might resell them, I resell some movies if I don't want to. What is that point where it has a permanent spot on your shelf?
It's interesting because by default, I always want to see a movie in a theater. And that's how the best way for you to see a movie in a theater, which is why I watched The Irishman at a theater for all 3.5 hours. And it was worth it. Because I don't want to be distracted by things. It's so easy to be distracted, especially like the job that I have. I get emails all the time. I supervise 120 student workers. They always have questions. They're always tutoring. And I'm just like, I want to be able to just get lost in a movie. So I want to watch it in a theater. This year has made me have to adjust to that. And
I was thinking of that exact same thing. Sorry, I was thinking of that exact same thing this week because Mank. I thought Mank was fine, but I was constantly getting distracted.
And there's parts, especially in the second act, where I was definitely getting distracted. I'm like, see, now I know that right now this isn't the most engaging because I'm not paying attention. But I felt like the last half hour or so, there's one particular scene at a very large table with a lot of people dressed up in circus stuff where I felt like I couldn't turn away.
Yep.
Where there's a scene in a big room with very powerful people and banter going back and forth about the world. I couldn't look away. And you know those moments are happening at home because you can't look away. But like, for me, I do not buy something unless I've seen it before.
Okay.
So all of those films that I have on physical media, I've seen before.
Okay.
And sometimes they're like, I check every Tuesday Blu-ray releases and DVD releases. If I look and I'm like, I want to own that, I know I'm going to buy it. I put it on my Amazon list. To save myself money, I don't buy anything more than $10.
Okay.
So like, I'll wait. And honestly, I'll wait until Black Friday. And then basically now the whole month of November, everything's discounted at this point online.
Right.
And I own them. There'll be times where I go through, I'm like, you know what? Do I really want to own this anymore? And I used to live in Lawrenceville. I lived in Lawrenceville, New Jersey for 6 years, right at around Ryder. I moved like half hour away. But in terms of like, I would go into Princeton Record Exchange. They buy and sell DVDs and
Yep.
Blu-rays. Not as much anymore, but like if I didn't want something anymore, I'd go sell it and then
Yep.
I'd buy more stuff. So, and I have a spreadsheet to keep track of all that.
Yep.
And I try to balance watching. My priority is if I'm going to watch one movie today, it's going to be a new release.
Hmm.
And if I have more time to watch another one, I use a random number generator to figure out which one of these 1,500 movies that I own I'm going to watch.
Right.
And like sometimes it like this is a perfect thing. So like I shop on Family Video's website because they sell
Hmm.
used movies.
Hmm.
And there was one movie I definitely wanted to buy, and I'm like, well, I need to get up to $25 because I want free shipping. So I'm
Right.
going through, and there's certain movies I'm like, well, that's a movie I would rewatch for $3.
Right.
And sometimes the price has to do with it, and maybe, and there's just sometimes where I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna want to rewatch this. And then a couple years later, for some reason, I'm thinking about that movie. And I actually had that happen because I was looking through, and this just came in the mail the other day, is Norman. And it was a Richard Gere film that came out like 2017. And it's like the rise and fall of a New York fixer. I
Okay.
remember seeing that in the theaters and really enjoying Richard Gere in it, really enjoying the film. But I'm like, when it first came out on like physical media, I'm like, oh, no, I'm not going to buy it. But for some reason, I still remember that movie 3 years later. I'm like, you know what? It's $3. I'm going to buy it.
I did the same exact thing with Uncut Gems. I saw it
Okay.
opening weekend. I hated it. I had no intention of ever watching it again. I think I want to watch it again at some point, not right now, but at some point, and it was on sale for $6.
Well, and that happens. And yeah, it was like, I know it was pretty cheap recently.
Yep.
And this one will get some people mad. It gets my friend Joe mad because this is his favorite movie of all time. I watched Raging Bull for the first time in high school in
Hmm.
film class, hated it. I'm like, I can't stand any of the people in this movie, and I never want to watch this again. But you know what? After years and years and exploring more of Scorsese and becoming more of a cinephile through college and everything, I'm like, I want to give it another try. And I could appreciate it now more.
I have
And
a very similar experience. Raging Bull is one of the very few movies that I turned off in the middle and didn't come back to. And it was just, I happened to be watching it and I needed to pause in the middle to go somewhere. And when I came back, I just didn't pick it up again. It's very rare for me to not finish a movie. And I just haven't had any intention to, but I do intend on watching the whole thing in full.
and so like to answer your questions, like when's that like sometimes it takes immediately like there's very few films that I will buy the week it comes out on Blu-ray and DVD. Like there's circumstances like I wound up buying Us the first week it came out because my brother hadn't seen it and I wanted to have that moment with watching with him for the first time.
Hmm.
Um like Marvel movies. I bought Endgame on 4K Steelbook the
Right.
first week it came out. I'm like, I'm ready.
Obviously.
And rewatched it. Did the same thing with Blade Runner 2049. I'm like, I need to rewatch this as soon as I possibly can. So when that came out, I bought it, watched it again that week. And but there's a range, and sometimes it takes years for me
Yep.
to like sit and marinate on a movie. And like, there's a reason I'm still thinking about this movie years later. Maybe I should watch it again. And if I
Sure.
can find it for cheap, I buy it. So
Yeah, everything's about price for me, and I mean rental prices are just so ridiculous nowadays. Like, now that there is no COVID killed the family video I had close.
mhm.
Um, so there is no video rental store for me. There's Redbox, but that's it. And even then, Redbox is I don't really like Redbox because they don't get things immediately.
Yeah.
Um, it's like at that point I'd rather just buy it, or like I watch all the sales everywhere. So like I have like 40 things on my Best Buy like save list, but it's like I have 3 different versions. So I have like the Tenet 4K and the Tenet 4K Steelbook. It's waiting for the right price to drop for whatever format. I don't, you know, sometimes I'm particular about getting the Steelbook, other times I'm not.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm particular about getting a 4K and sometimes I'm not. But it's just like, I try to find a lowest price, although I am unlike you, whereas I will buy movies before I see them. But it has to entice me. And it's only just because I don't want it to sit on an endless queue, and then eventually I'll rent it. And then if I really like it and want to buy it, I'll pick it up later. For new releases, I try to catch it in the theaters, or maybe wait till it's on a streaming service and watch it first. But sometimes I just don't. The last time I blind bought a brand new release was The Martian, and that panned out pretty well for me.
That was great. That had a lot of buzz around it. I was so happy when I went to go see this. I'm like, this science the shit out of this.
Yeah.
And enjoyed every moment of it.
Right. Like, that's the last time I blind bought a brand new release that week. So, but yeah, I'll buy. I'd rather buy that way. I know it's here. I know I have it. I know I can access it, and I know I don't have to pay for it in the future.
Yeah. But so you all got a nice look into my system. And because basically I'm that kind of person. To get to something you brought up, you alluded to, is how do I do this? I have a system for everything. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to keep track of stuff. But I appreciate you, Aaron, for coming on to the show. I'm excited to do these with a lot of the SiftPop people because, honestly, this is the second time I've interacted with you.
Right.
And it's pretty cool. And because you brought up how your family video just shut down. I'm from New Jersey. There hasn't been video rental stores since Blockbuster. So that's been something dead for me for a long time. Yeah. And it's interesting because I know there's very few of us that write for SiftPop that are from the Northeast.
I mean, you got Robert up there, and
it's interesting because I'm going to be interviewing Alice. So we're going to be a day and a half away from each other.
Tell you something. Alice is one of the most fascinating interviews you'll get. Especially, just ask her. I know you're talking mostly about movies. And I'm not sure if you've ever gotten around to the episode I had where she and I talk TV. Ask her about what TV she watches. So I sent you the show notes for when you were on.
Yeah.
And you saw the show notes. It's fairly straightforward. Alice sent me 5 pages of the TV shows that she watches. I kid you not. She watches 70 some on a week-to-week basis.
I have a whole entire spreadsheet set up. That was and you'll get to this again because it's a hard choice for me to figure out what I want to talk about because I do watch a lot of TV too. Right. And I know that's one of the ones I signed up for January is to talk about more TV. Well,
we got to get caught up. Last time you were on, you told me I need to watch Fargo next, and I finally started it. So
I got through first or second season of The Newsroom.
Okay.
The first, so I got around to start watching that, and I'm on cycles, so I'm circling back to things.
Right.
And, I'm watching The Sopranos right now, and because I never watched The Sopranos, and being an Italian from New Jersey, it's what's wrong with me?
Well, and with Many Saints of Newark coming out.
Yeah, and it's a good time to be catching up on that, but it's interesting. But this is fun, and not gonna lie, we discussed Disney announcements for an hour before we even started filming this. So
very true.
Many things, but shameless plugs. Always check out SiftPop. Check out SiftPop's Writers Room. It's a great podcast, and I can't wait to be back on it again. But thank you all for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.